The vast amphitheater of Consensus Prime stretched across 3 miles of polished metal and crystal. 847 species had gathered here, their representatives filling the curved rows that spiraled up toward the domed ceiling. Some beings glowed with bioluminescence. Others existed as clouds of organized particles held together by electromagnetic fields. A few were so massive they attended via hologram to avoid crushing smaller delegates. At the center platform stood High Commander Vorkath of the Kathan Imperium. His species had ruled the largest territory in the galaxy for over 5,000 years. 4 eyes gleamed above his mandibles as he surveyed the assembled council. This was his moment of triumph. "The evidence is irrefutable," Vorkath announced. His voice carried through translation devices implanted in every delegate. "Humanity has violated the sacred truce. 3,000 years ago, we confined them to their solar system for the safety of all civilized species. They agreed to these terms. They gave their word." Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber. Images showed human settlements on distant worlds. Ships bearing Earth insignia traveled between stars. Construction projects on 17 planets, all beyond the boundaries of Sol system. "They have broken faith with this council," Vorkath continued. "They have expanded in secret, colonized forbidden territories, and made a mockery of our laws. There is only one response to such treachery." A vote counter appeared in the air above the assembly. Species after species registered their position. The count climbed steadily. Finally, the result flashed across every screen: 847 votes in favor of military action. 0 votes against. War had been declared. In a small section reserved for the human delegation, Director Emily Watson sat perfectly still. She was a woman in her early 50s by appearance, though genetic modifications made determining anyone's true age nearly impossible. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple style. She wore a plain gray suit with no ornamentation. Next to her sat Colonel James Mitchell, a tall man with military bearing and graying temples. He leaned close and whispered, "Should I contact Earth?" "Not yet," Emily murmured. Vorkath turned his 4-eyed gaze toward the human section. "Director Watson, your species has one opportunity to avoid complete annihilation. Surrender immediately. Abandon all colonies. Return to Sol system and submit to permanent monitoring. Refuse, and we will erase humanity from existence. What is your answer?" The chamber fell silent. 847 species waited to hear humanity's response. Some delegates felt pity for the humans. Others felt satisfaction. A few felt nothing at all, being species without conventional emotions. Emily stood slowly. Every eye, sensor, and consciousness in the room focused on her. The silence stretched out for 5 seconds. 10. 15. Then she laughed. It started as a quiet chuckle, barely audible. But it grew. Her shoulders shook. She put a hand over her mouth, trying to contain it, but the laughter burst through. Tears formed in her eyes. Colonel Mitchell looked at her, then at Vorkath, then he started laughing too. Within seconds, all 30 human delegates were laughing. Some doubled over. Others wiped tears from their faces. The sound echoed through the massive chamber, bouncing off crystal walls. Vorkath's mandibles clicked together in confusion. What is the meaning of this display?" Emily took a breath, trying to compose herself. She failed and laughed harder. Finally, after nearly a minute, she managed to speak. "Oh, Commander. Oh my. I'm sorry. That was perfect. Thank you for this. You laugh at a declaration of war?" Vorkath's voice carried anger now. "You laugh at your own extinction?" No, Emily said, wiping her eyes. "We laugh at the situation. It's just so beautifully ironic." She took another breath. "We accept your declaration." "Absolutely. You want war? You've got it." This statement brought confused murmuring from the assembled species. They had expected begging, pleading, perhaps defiance. But laughter and acceptance? "However," Emily continued, "we'll need 30 days to prepare. That's reasonable, yes? Standard protocol for declarations of this magnitude. 30 days to get everything in order." Vorkath's mandibles spread in what his species used for a smile. 30 days? You believe 1 month will save you from the combined might of 847 species? From the most powerful military force ever assembled? "Oh, not at all," Emily said cheerfully. "We just need time to gather everyone together. You know how it is. People scattered across different locations, schedules to coordinate, that sort of thing. It would be rude to start a war when half your people are on vacation. Vacation. Vorkath sounded incredulous. MMHMM. Also, we should probably clean up a bit. First impressions matter. Emily smiled warmly. 30 days. We'll be ready. The human delegation began filing out. They walked calmly, still chuckling among themselves. Several delegates exchanged jokes in quiet voices. One man was still wiping tears from his face. As Emily passed through the exit, her assistant handed her a secure tablet. The device was small, unmarked, and encrypted with quantum keys that would take conventional computers a billion years to crack. Emily typed a single sentence: "They took the bait. Execute Protocol Prometheus." She sent the message and looked back at the council chamber. Through the doorway, she could see Vorkath already coordinating with his generals. Other species were pledging ships, weapons, soldiers. "They have no idea," James said quietly beside her. "None whatsoever," Emily agreed. She looked at her old friend and smiled. "This is going to be fun." Behind them, the Galactic Council erupted into activity. The Kathan military immediately began mobilizing their fleet. Over 10,000 warships received deployment orders within the first hour. Other species contributed vessels. The Zenthir provided their crystalline battle spheres. The Morgoth sent their bioships, living creatures bred for war. The collective offered their drone swarms, millions of small craft controlled by hive minds. Within 6 hours, the largest military force in galactic history was assembling. 23,000 ships from hundreds of species, all converging on rally points for the journey to human space. In a small observation room overlooking the council chamber, Ambassador Telith watched the humans depart. She was from a species called the Watchers, beings who valued knowledge and history above all else. She had studied humanity extensively. She had read the classified reports from the original war 3,000 years ago. Most species believed the story they had been told, that humanity was confined because they were dangerous, primitive, and violent. That the Galactic Council had defeated them and imposed a quarantine for everyone's safety. But Telith had clearance to read the full reports. She knew the truth was different. More complicated. More terrifying. She remembered one line from those reports, written by a Kathan general who had fought in the final battle: "Humanity does not fight wars. They solve problems." Earth hung in the darkness of space like a blue and white marble. Clouds swirled across oceans. Continents showed green and brown beneath the atmosphere. From a distance, it looked peaceful. Untouched. Vulnerable. Admiral Thomas Blake stood on the bridge of Vanguard Station, a massive orbital platform positioned beyond the moon. He was a tall man with silver hair and sharp eyes that had seen 3 centuries of life. His uniform was simple black with silver trim. No medals. No decorations. He did not need them. "Status report," Thomas said quietly. His executive officer, Commander Lisa Grant, checked her displays. "Kathan Vanguard fleet will arrive in 2 hours. We count 1,947 ships. They are being cautious with their first wave." "Only 2,000. Thomas raised an eyebrow. "They underestimate us." Beside him, Dr. Rebecca Foster worked at her console. She was younger than Thomas by about 50 years, with red hair tied back and glasses that were entirely cosmetic. She preferred them for style. "Defensive platforms are online. Dimensional shields holding at 98%. The decoys are ready for deployment." "And our message?" Thomas asked. Rebecca smiled. "Sent it an hour ago. It should be in position right now." Thomas nodded. He had been a soldier for 300 years. Life extension technology had given humanity time. So much time. Time to think. Time to plan. Time to become something the galaxy could not imagine. He remembered the original war 3,000 years ago. He had been there. A young officer on a destroyer that barely survived the final battle. He remembered the desperation. The fear. The moment when humanity realized it faced complete extinction. That moment changed everything. "Contact the colonies," Thomas ordered. "Begin phase 2 of the evacuation." Across 17 star systems, human colonies received the signal. But these were not real colonies. They were stages. Theater sets. The people living there were volunteers who had spent decades maintaining an illusion. They pretended to be simple settlers. They built towns that looked primitive. They used technology that seemed basic. All of it was a lie. On New Terra, the largest of the fake colonies, Captain Henry Walsh supervised the final preparations. He was a stocky man with a beard and laugh lines around his eyes. All personnel to phase shelters. Activate the false readings. Make it look like we panicked and ran. The colonists moved quickly. They had practiced this drill 1,000 times. Within minutes, every human on New Terra entered underground shelters. Then Captain Henry activated the dimensional shift. The entire colony shimmered like a mirage. Buildings became transparent. Roads faded. The whole settlement slipped sideways out of normal space into a pocket dimension. To anyone watching from outside, the colony simply vanished. Disappeared completely. Cathan scout ships arrived at the 17 colony worlds within the hour. They found empty towns. Abandoned streets. Spaceports with no ships. Data centers with erased files. It was as if millions of humans had simply evaporated. This makes no sense, one scout captain reported back to the main fleet. Where did they go? There are no ships leaving the system. No trace of evacuation. They are just gone. One scout ship, the Claw of Victory, pushed deeper into an apparently empty star system. The crew were confident. Experienced. They had fought in 12 wars across 2 centuries. They knew how to hunt prey that was hiding. Their sensors showed nothing unusual. Empty space. A few asteroids. Some background radiation. Normal cosmic noise. Then the ship disappeared. No explosion registered on sensors. No distress call went out. No debris field formed. The Claw of Victory was there one moment and gone the next. Erased from existence. The only thing remaining was its final transmission. 15 seconds of static mixed with something that sounded disturbingly like human laughter. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Sophie Carter ran through final checks on her fighter. The XR-7 phase fighter was sleek and black, shaped like a blade. It looked small. Fragile. That was intentional. Echo Squadron ready for deployment, she reported. Sophie was 28 years old with short blonde hair and a cocky smile. She had been flying since she was 16. She was very good at it. Excellent, came Admiral Thomas's voice over the communication system. In about 90 minutes, you are going to make history. Yes, sir. Looking forward to it, sir. Sophie loved flying. She loved the feeling of piloting something that should not be possible. The phase fighter could slip between dimensions. It could pass through solid matter like a ghost. It existed in multiple layers of reality at once. Flying one required instincts that normal pilots could not develop. You had to think in 4 dimensions simultaneously. She was one of the best. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, under miles of rock and reinforced steel, Dr. Rebecca Foster worked in her laboratory. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing data streams that would take hours to read. At the center of it all was the Consciousness Archive project. Every human who had lived in the past 2,000 years had their mind backed up. Memories. Personality. Experiences. Everything that made a person who they were, stored in quantum format. If someone died, they could be restored. Downloaded into a new body. Brought back. Death had become optional. We cannot threaten people who have made dying optional, Rebecca had told the military council years ago. Fear of death drives all military strategy. Remove that fear and war becomes just problem-solving with explosions. Her assistant, Dr. William Grant, looked up from his console. He was a thin man with dark skin and nervous energy. The Cathan main fleet just entered Sol system. All 2,000 ships. Rebecca smiled. Perfect timing. Show me. The holographic display shifted. It showed the Cathan fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel. They appeared in formation, weapons powered, shields active. Ready for battle. Ready to find Earth and begin their attack. Instead, they found nothing. Where is their planet? High Commander Vorkath demanded from his flagship. Scan the system. Find Earth. His navigation officer worked frantically. Commander, I cannot locate Earth. It is not in its proper orbit. The planet is missing. Missing? Planets do not just disappear. Sir, there is something at Earth's orbital position. You should see this. The main view screen focused. Floating where Earth should have been was an enormous holographic sign. It was written in every known galactic language. The text glowed bright enough to read from 1,000,000 miles away. Gone fishing. Back in 30 days. P.S. You really should not have. Below the text was an image of a human face. It was smiling. One eye was closed in an exaggerated wink. Vorkath stared at the message. His 4 eyes moved across the words again and again. This is mockery. They mock us. Orders, Commander, his tactical officer asked nervously. Tear this system apart. Search every planet, every moon, every asteroid. Find the humans. Find them now. The Cathan fleet spread out. Ships moved to investigate Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They scanned the asteroid belt. They sent probes toward the outer planets. They searched everywhere. But they could not shake the feeling that somewhere, somehow, humanity was watching. Waiting. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Cathan Armada split into 12 battle groups. Each group contained between 500 and 1,000 warships. High Commander Vorkath kept the largest force under his direct command. The smaller groups spread across known space like a net, searching for any trace of human presence. Battle Group 7 entered the Proxima system with complete confidence. Commander Rethik led this force from his flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Iron Fang. He had 3 more dreadnoughts under his command and 800 escort ships. Cruisers. Destroyers. Fighter carriers. It was enough firepower to conquer most civilizations. Contact on sensors, his tactical officer announced. Single ship. Frigate class. Definitely human design. Commander Rethik leaned forward in his command chair. On the main view screen appeared a small blocky vessel. It hung motionless in space, apparently waiting for them. The ship was maybe 300 feet long. Tiny compared to his dreadnoughts. One ship. Rethik clicked his mandibles together. The sound indicated amusement in Cathan body language. They send one ship against 800? Destroy it immediately. The battle group moved forward in standard formation. Dreadnoughts at the center. Escort ships forming protective screens on all sides. Weapons powered up. Targeting systems locked onto the small human frigate. The human ship did not move. It did not flee. It did not raise shields or power weapons. It just floated there like a piece of debris. Then it began broadcasting. Music erupted across every communication channel. Loud, jarring sounds with repetitive beats. Human voices singing words that made no sense. The translation systems tried to process the lyrics but failed. Something about never giving up. Never letting down. Images flooded their neural interfaces. Colorful moving pictures appeared directly in their minds. Humans making ridiculous faces. Animals doing impossible things. Text that scrolled past too fast to read properly. The humans called these things memes. What is this? Rethik demanded. What are they doing? I do not know, Commander. It is just noise and images. No weapons fire. No hostile action. Just this nonsense. But the nonsense was effective. Cathan minds were not designed for this kind of chaotic input. Their species valued order. Structure. Logic. The random absurdity of human culture hit them like a psychological weapon. Jam the signal. Block the transmission. The communications officer tried. He activated every jamming system on the ship. Nothing worked. The music grew louder. The images came faster. A human dancing. A cat playing piano. Another human making exaggerated expressions. The same song playing on endless repeat. Sir, the crew is reporting psychological distress. The sounds and images are overwhelming our neural filters. Some are experiencing headaches. Disorientation. They cannot focus on their duties. Rethik felt his own concentration slipping. The dancing human image was burned into his mind. The terrible music echoed in his thoughts. He tried to focus on tactics but kept seeing that ridiculous winking face from Earth's orbital position. Contacts. Multiple contacts decloaking all around us. Space rippled like water disturbed by wind. From nowhere, 500 human ships appeared. They materialized simultaneously, surrounding the Cathan battle group in a perfect sphere. These were not emerging from faster-than-light travel. They had been there all along. Hidden. Invisible. Waiting. Lieutenant Sophie Carter led Echo Squadron through the enemy formation. Her phase fighter flickered in and out of normal space, existing partially in reality and partially in some other dimension. To Cathan sensors, she looked like a ghost. A glitch in their systems. Something that should not exist. Echo Squadron, weapons free, she announced cheerfully over the squadron channel. Try not to have too much fun out there. Sophie targeted a Cathan destroyer. The ship was huge compared to her fighter. Bristling with weapons. Protected by shields that could withstand nuclear detonations. None of it mattered. She pushed her fighter into phase mode. The universe shifted around her. Colors became strange. Space felt thick like water. She could see the Cathan destroyer ahead, but it looked transparent now. Ghostly. She flew straight toward it. The destroyer's shields passed around her like air. The hull was no barrier at all. She existed in a space between spaces where solid matter was just a suggestion. Sophie flew through the destroyer's interior, placing quantum bombs as she went. 1 in the reactor room. 2 in the weapons bay. 3 near the main engines. Then she phased back into normal space outside the ship. 3 seconds later, the destroyer exploded from within. Metal tore apart in a brilliant flash. Atmosphere vented into space. The ship broke into 3 large pieces. 1 down. Sophie called out. This is way easier than the training simulations. Around her, the other pilots in Echo Squadron were having similar success. The Kathan could not track them. Could not shoot them. Could not defend against attacks that came from impossible angles. Human fighters phased halfway through Kathan cruisers and fired weapons from inside the enemy's own hull. Commander Rethik watched his fleet die. In less than 10 minutes, he had lost over 100 ships. The humans suffered no casualties. 0. Not a single fighter had been destroyed. His tactical officers shouted conflicting information. His crews panicked. The terrible music still played on every channel. All ships, full retreat. Emergency faster than light jump. Get us out of here. The surviving Kathan vessels fled in disorder. Some crashed into each other in their panic. Others jumped to random coordinates, desperate to escape. In 15 minutes, the battle was over. Battle Group 7 had lost 200 ships. The humans lost nothing. Admiral Thomas Blake watched from Vanguard Station. The tactical display showed the battle clearly. His expression remained neutral, but his eyes showed satisfaction. Status report, he said calmly. Battle Group 7 is in full retreat. They abandoned their damaged ships. Minimal casualties on our side. 0 losses. Commander Lisa Grant smiled. Sir, they are terrified. Good. Broadcast the message. Across all frequencies, in every galactic language, a simple text appeared. Surrender now and you will be treated well. Continue fighting and we will continue enjoying ourselves. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. Every species heard about the battle. The reports were consistent and terrifying. Humanity was not just winning. They were toying with their opponents. Playing with them. Every battle included the same disturbing details. The humans were laughing. They broadcast music during combat. They made jokes over open communication channels. They treated warfare like entertainment. Ambassador Telith received the battle reports in her private chambers. She read them carefully. Then she read them again. Finally, she opened the classified files from 3,000 years ago. The files that most species were never allowed to see. She found the passage she remembered. A report from a Kathan general who fought in the final battle of the original war. The general wrote, "We did not defeat humanity. We survived them. There is a difference. They could have destroyed us with weapons we still do not understand. Instead, they offered a truce. They chose to be quarantined. I believe they did this not because they feared us, but because they were not yet ready to join galactic civilization. They needed time to develop. To grow. To become whatever they wanted to become. We did not cage a dangerous animal. We gave a sleeping giant time to wake up properly." Telith closed the file. She looked at the current battle reports again. At the casualty numbers. At the descriptions of impossible technology. At the notes about human behavior during combat. The sleeping giant was awake now. And it was laughing at the galaxy's greatest military force. She whispered a prayer to God she no longer believed in. May they show mercy when this is over. Because we will need it. The Kathan Empire refused to accept defeat. Pride ran deeper than logic in their culture. Honor demanded victory even when victory became impossible. High Commander Vorkath retreated to the throne world of Kathar Prime and made a decision that would change everything. Deep beneath the planet's surface sat the World Breaker. This weapon had been built over 3 centuries. It was the size of a small moon. The Kathan had constructed it as their ultimate guarantee against extinction. No enemy could threaten them while the World Breaker existed. It could crack planets apart. Turn worlds into rubble. Destroy entire solar systems if necessary. Vorkath stood in the control chamber surrounded by his most trusted officers. His 4 eyes gleamed with desperate determination. Target the human capital world. Target New Terra. We will show them the price of humiliating the Kathan Empire. Commander, are you certain? His second-in-command asked nervously. Using the World Breaker violates 17 galactic treaties. Every species will condemn us. Every species already fights against us, Vorkath snapped. We have nothing left to lose. Power up the weapon. Fire when ready. The World Breaker began its activation sequence. Massive reactors drew energy directly from Cathar Prime's star. Collectors in orbit funneled power down through cables as thick as buildings. The weapon hummed with gathering force. In 12 minutes, it would fire a beam capable of tearing a planet into fragments. On Earth, deep in Dr. Rebecca Foster's laboratory, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed across every display. Her assistants jumped to their stations. They are activating the World Breaker, Rebecca called to Admiral Thomas on the communication channel. Target is New Terra. We have 12 minutes. Thomas sat in his command chair on Vanguard Station. His face showed no emotion. How long to prepare the gate? The quantum gate is already prepared, Dr. William Grant said from his console. Coordinates are locked on Cathar Prime. We just need your authorization. Thomas allowed himself a small smile. Then let us return their gift. Authorization granted. Execute. In orbit around Cathar Prime, space itself began to twist. Reality bent like fabric being pulled. A massive circular structure materialized from nowhere. It was a quantum entanglement gate, 10 miles across, built from principles of physics that most species had not yet discovered. The gate opened. Through it, observers could see another gate near New Terra, thousands of light years away. The 2 points in space were now connected. Anything entering one gate would exit the other instantly. The World Breaker fired. A beam of concentrated energy lanced out toward New Terra. Enough power to destroy a planet. Enough force to kill billions. The beam entered the first quantum gate near New Terra, and emerged from the second gate directly above Cathar Prime. In the Throne World's command center, alarms erupted. A panicked officer shouted, "Incoming energy weapon. Massive power signature. It is the World Breaker beam." "That is impossible." Vorkath roared. "We are firing the weapon. It cannot be targeting us." "Sir, the beam is descending toward the planet's surface. Impact in 40 seconds. Through the palace windows, Vorkath could see it now. A pillar of white fire falling from the sky. The weapon he had fired was coming back. His own planet killer was about to destroy his own world. Shut it down. Deactivate the weapon. We cannot shut it down from here. The humans have taken control of our systems. A communication channel opened without authorization. Admiral Thomas Blake appeared on every screen in the command center. His expression was calm. Almost kind. "High Commander Vorkath, I believe this belongs to you. Would you like us to shut it off?" Vorkath's 4 eyes widened with terror. Below his command center, through the reinforced windows, the beam grew closer. Brighter. He could feel the heat even through the shielding. "Stop it. I order you to stop it. First, you must surrender. Completely and unconditionally. Stand down all Cathan military forces across the entire galaxy. Immediately." We. Vorkath struggled to form words. His pride fought against survival. His honor demanded defiance. But death was seconds away. Not just his death. His entire species. His homeworld. Everything. "We surrender," he finally shouted. "The Cathan Empire surrenders. All forces stand down. Now stop the weapon." Dr. Rebecca Foster cut the power to the World Breaker remotely. Humanity had infiltrated Cathan computer systems weeks ago. They had control of nearly everything. The beam dissipated mere seconds before impact. The sky above Cathar Prime cleared. The planet was saved. Silence filled the command center. Vorkath collapsed into his chair. His officers stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. They had tried to destroy humanity's capital. Instead, they nearly destroyed their own homeworld. Admiral Thomas spoke again from the viewscreen. Broadcast on all channels. "The war is over. The Cathan Empire has surrendered. All species currently engaged in hostilities against humanity should contact us immediately to negotiate terms." Across the galaxy, fighting stopped. Species that had joined the war began frantically sending diplomatic messages. The Zenthir recalled their crystal battle spheres. The Morgoth ordered their bioships to cease all attacks. The collective's drone swarms powered down weapons and waited for instructions. The war had lasted 6 days. 6 days from declaration to surrender. The greatest military force in galactic history had been defeated in less than a week. Director Emily Watson arrived on Cathar Prime 3 days later. She brought a small diplomatic team. No soldiers. No weapons. Just diplomats and translators. She met Volkath in his throne room. The chamber was enormous, designed to intimidate visitors. But Emily walked in casually, looking around with genuine interest. Impressive architecture, she said. Volkath sat on his throne. He looked older than he had a week ago. Tired. Defeated. You could have destroyed us. Your weapon was seconds from impact. Why did you stop it? Emily sat in a chair without being invited. Because we are not monsters, Commander. We just really hate being told what to do. You tried to cage us. To limit us. To control us. That is not something we tolerate. What happens now? Occupation? Punishment? Tribute? Now we talk. We build something better together. Emily leaned forward. We are proposing a new system. The Galactic Council is dissolved. No more single ruling body. No more species with special privileges. Instead, we create the galactic community. Every species has equal voice. Complete freedom of movement. No more quarantines. No more cages. You would give us equal standing? After what we did? Yes. We are also sharing our technology. Life extension. Dimensional travel. Consciousness backup. Energy generation. All of it. Free. Open source. Volkath stared at her. His 4 eyes tried to find deception in her face. Why? This makes no sense. Why help those who tried to exterminate you? Colonel James Mitchell, standing beside Emily, spoke for the first time. Because we remember being trapped. Being limited. Being told we could not leave our home system. We remember that desperation. We do not want any species to feel that way ever again. Emily added, there is one condition though. No more wars of conquest. No more forced quarantines. No more trying to control other species. The galaxy is big enough for everyone. Volkath looked at these humans offering friendship to former enemies. Offering freedom to those who had tried to enslave them. And if we refuse your offer? Then we leave, Emily said simply. We return to our colonies in other galaxies. We will monitor the Milky Way from a distance, but we will not interfere. You will be on your own. That is all? No revenge? No punishment? Emily smiled. Commander, we do not believe in punishment. We believe in growth. Besides, we have entire galaxies to explore. We do not have time for revenge. Director Emily Watson activated the holographic display in the center of Volkath's throne room. The image started small, showing just the Milky Way galaxy. Then it expanded. Another galaxy appeared. Then another. And another. 6 galaxies total, each one highlighted with thousands of glowing points indicating human presence. 2,500 years ago, Emily began quietly, we discovered something remarkable. A way to travel between galaxies. Not just faster than light travel, but true dimensional shifting. Distance became meaningless. We could step from one galaxy to another as easily as walking through a door. Volkath leaned forward on his throne. His 4 eyes focused on the display. You have been in other galaxies? For how long? For 2.5 millennia. While you kept us quarantined in Sol system, we were expanding across Andromeda, Triangulum, the Large Magellanic Cloud, and 3 others beyond. The humans you fought here in the Milky Way? We are just the caretaker force. Volunteers who stayed behind to watch over our birthplace. The holographic display zoomed in on each galaxy in turn. Planets circled by orbital rings. Massive space stations. Megastructures that dwarfed anything built in the Milky Way. Cities that covered entire moons. Each galaxy showed more human development than Volkath had imagined possible. How many? Volkath asked. His voice was barely a whisper. In the Milky Way, about 50 billion humans. Emily paused. In the other galaxies combined? Approximately 15 quadrillion. The number hung in the air. 15 quadrillion. More humans existed outside the Milky Way than all other known species combined. The Cathan Empire, the largest in the galaxy, had a population of 3 trillion. Humanity outnumbered them 5,000 to 1. Admiral Thomas Blake appeared via hologram in the throne room. The truth is, Commander, we could have prevented this war before it started. We knew about your plans months in advance. We allowed it to happen. Why? Volkath demanded. Why let your people die if you could have stopped it? Because we needed to prove a point, Thomas said. Not just to you, but to every species in the galaxy. We needed to show that caging others never works. That control through fear always fails. That the best path to peace is not through threats and quarantines, but through freedom and cooperation. Emily pulled up another section of the display. It showed technical specifications, blueprints, scientific formulas. We are offering all of this to every species. Life extension technology so everyone can live for centuries. Dimensional travel so distance is no longer a barrier. Consciousness backup so death becomes a choice rather than a certainty. Clean energy generation. Advanced medicine. Everything. You would share this freely? Vorkath could not hide his disbelief. No cost? No demands? One demand, Colonel James Mitchell said. He stepped forward. No more wars of conquest. No more forced quarantines. No more trying to control other species through fear. Everyone gets to choose their own path. Emily smiled. The galaxy is vast, Commander. There is room for everyone. There are billions of habitable worlds. Trillions of resources. No species needs to fight over scraps when abundance is available to all. Vorkath sat back on his throne. He processed this information slowly. His entire worldview was collapsing. The Kathan had built their empire on the belief that power came from control. That security came from dominating others. That survival required making others submit. Humanity was offering the opposite. Freedom instead of control. Cooperation instead of domination. Abundance instead of scarcity. What if we refuse? Vorkath asked. What if the Kathan choose to remain isolated? Then you remain isolated, Emily said with a shrug. We are not forcing anyone to join the galactic community. If you want to keep your old ways, that is your choice. We will leave you alone. But we will also help those who want something different. And you truly believe this will work? That species can cooperate without someone in charge? Without rules enforced by military power? Thomas spoke again. We believe that most beings, regardless of species, want similar things. Safety for their families. Opportunities for their children. The freedom to live as they choose. When those needs are met, cooperation becomes natural. Force becomes unnecessary. Emily added, You tried to control us for 3,000 years, Commander. Look how that worked out. We did not become weaker. We became stronger. We did not stagnate. We flourished. Trying to cage others only makes them more determined to break free. 3 years passed. The galaxy transformed in ways no one had predicted. The old Galactic Council dissolved peacefully. In its place, the Galactic Community formed. No central government. No species with veto power. Just representatives meeting to coordinate, share information, and solve problems together. Lieutenant Sophie Carter stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching Kathan and human engineers work side by side. They were building new dimensional drives together. Sharing techniques. Learning from each other. The Kathan were talented engineers. Humans were innovative problem solvers. Together, they created things neither could build alone. Dr. Rebecca Foster's consciousness backup technology spread to over 300 species. Death rates across the galaxy plummeted. People who would have died in accidents, from disease, or in old age could now be restored. Not immortal, but given choices about their existence they never had before. Dr. William Grant led an intergalactic university with students from 500 different worlds. Species that had never met before studied together. Learned together. Made discoveries that benefited everyone. Admiral Thomas Blake finally retired after 303 years of military service. He took his old crew and left to explore uncharted systems beyond the galactic rim. No battles to fight. No enemies to defeat. Just the joy of seeing new worlds for the first time. Emily Watson became the first director of the Galactic Community Council. She had not wanted the position, but someone needed to coordinate efforts during the transition. Just for a few years, she promised. Until everyone gets comfortable with the new system. General James Mitchell commanded the Joint Defense Force, a volunteer military with members from dozens of species. Not an army of conquest, but a response team for emergencies. Pirates. Natural disasters. Rogue artificial intelligences. Threats that required cooperation to address. On Kathar Prime, in a small school near the capital, young Kathan students learned about the war. One child raised her hand. Teacher, why did the humans laugh when we declared war on them? The teacher was an old warrior who had fought at the Battle of Proxima. He had seen his ship destroyed. Watched friends die. Fled in terror from enemies he could not understand. But now he understood. They laughed, he said slowly, because they knew something we did not. They knew that the best way to survive darkness is to bring your own light. They learned to laugh at death itself. And in doing so, they became something no weapon could ever defeat. They became truly alive. The student thought about this. Are we truly alive now too? The old warrior looked out the window at the sky.